With all the cash floating around Las Vegas, is there room for charity?
Help me out, bro.
These people raising money night and day on the Vegas Strip say there is. They say they're collecting for the homeless. They were recruited from this online post. Homeless and jobless? You must be both. Includes room and board with cash paid weekly. Your job? Fundraising.
Small donations, small change.
The group is called the U.S. Missionary Corps.
It's a shelter, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're a shelter and we're based on public donation.
Now, when we donate, most of us would like to believe that the bulk of our money is actually going to the people who need it. But is that what's really happening here? This woman's uniform, along with her badge that says volunteer, makes her seem legitimate. But she admits she isn't really a volunteer at all. This is her job.
And it's hard work, honey. You've got to stay on the bucket 7 hours a day and you've got to talk like a parrot.
She's one of the homeless people who answered the Craigslist post and has been hired to collect cash. But where do all those dollar bills go? Apparently, there's somebody else involved. The woman who runs the U.S. Missionary Corps.
If we don't make a certain quota, she's wondering what we were doing, why haven't we got the money in the bucket? That's the boss. Well, you'll find out.
We wanted to know more about this boss and if the money being collected on the Strip is really going to the homeless. To find out, our producer replied to the group's post and was told to show up on the Strip to await further orders.
How you doing? Good. My name's Marianne. I'd shake your hand, but my hands are filthy. I've been handling money all day.
Our producer was led to this rundown van.
You can stand in the way back.
On the way back?
Don't mind, yeah, because I'm picking up other people.
No worries.
The van picked up other U.S. Missionary Corps fundraisers, all with buckets full of cash. We ended up at this house.
All right.
And that's where we saw the same workers who collected the cash out on the Vegas Strip counting it themselves. It looks like several $100s. This is also where we found out something very interesting about the U.S. Missionary Corps. These workers, who are supposedly homeless themselves, get 20% of what they collect. Some of them told us they make between $40 to $60 a day. They're given room and board. We're told up to 18 people stay in this 4-bedroom home. So what's the problem?
It's not doing what it says it's doing. It's deceiving the public.
Ken Berger runs Charity Navigator, a watchdog group. Would you call it a scam?
Absolutely. I think it's because who is it helping? How is it really helping homeless people in any meaningful way?
Rather than help homeless people, Berger says the U.S. Missionary Corps actually exploits them.
These people are getting minuscule amounts of money, this 20% of whatever they raise, and for all accounts, it's far less than minimum wage.
I went out on the Strip wearing a disguise as a person interested in collecting. I asked this homeless person how much he ended up with.
My bucket was small last week a couple of times.
Right.
And they only gave me 10%.
10%?
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're using you.
It seems like they might be.
So where is the lion's share of the money going?
So who gets the money?
The lady who runs the shelter.
That lady is this woman, Carol Dodd, the president of the U.S. Missionary Corps. And it turns out this isn't the first homeless organization she's been involved with. Years ago, Carol Dodd worked with a nearly identical group called the U.S. Chaplains Corps in San Antonio, Texas. And as reported by NBC affiliate WOAI, that group was closed down. Why?
Even though they looked and sounded legit, your money was going right back into their own pockets.
So is that what's going on here in Vegas? I put that question to another U.S. Missionary Corps worker out on the Strip. She apparently already knew who I was.
I just want to know where the money goes. What about Carol Dye? How much money does Carol Dye keep?
We tried twice to meet with Carol Dodd.
Is Carol home?
She didn't talk to us either time. Wouldn't even roll down her car window.
Carol, I just want to talk to you for 1 minute, please. Can't I just talk to you for a minute? Just pull over for 1 second and let us talk. I don't want to bother you.
Dye insists the money U.S. Missionary Corps collects does help the homeless. that is, the homeless volunteers who do the collecting out on the streets. And she told us in a letter that the money U.S. Missionary Corps gives its volunteers is a gift that enables them to get back into the mainstream of society. She admitted she owns the house we visited and that the organization she herself founded reimburses her to pay the mortgage. U.S. Missionary Corps does have permits from the city of Las Vegas to make collections. But shortly after our visit, the Las Vegas Zoning Board said Carol Dye was violating city laws by having too many people living in a residential house, and her so-called shelter was shut down. In the meantime, U.S. Missionary Corps is still recruiting, still collecting cash on the Vegas Strip.
Thank you, sir. Every little bit helps.
What would you say to anybody walking down the Vegas Strip who sees a U.S. Missionary Corps volunteer?
I would say don't give them a dime. Beware.
Berger says before you give a donation, especially cash, to any charity, research it to make sure your money is going where it will really help.